thank you so much for coming. And today I'm really happy that Code Chrysalis.
It's hard to say. It's very hard to say.
I really have a hard time pronouncing Chrysalis. This company collaborates with Women in Technology Japan for this event. And today, actually, I have a very easy job. All I have to do is just introduce Women in Technology Japan. And later on, Yang, who is the co-founder, she will take over. Since we have a really very nice program after this, so I'm just going to go through very quickly about what is Women in Technology Japan. Okay, first about... First, just a little bit myself. Myself is Annie Chang. I'm from Taiwan. I've been in Japan more than 3 decades. When I first come here, I speak no language, no skill, couldn't get a job. But then later on, I actually work in Japanese company, and I started my own business. I'm the president of AC Global Solutions. So we do I do IT recruiting for life science, consulting, financial service, technology industry. But 5 years ago, I find there's a need to bring more women into the technology field. So I found Women in Technology Japan 5 years ago, and actually Google is a company helped us to kick off. And actually today we have a past speaker, which is she's from Google, Wakana-san. She was our 3 years ago, and she was our speaker. We did the disability in IT. Thank you very much, Wakana-san, coming to this event.
Thank you for mentioning.
This is you can see this is our mission. Our mission. There's 3 things in here. One, we want to inspire more women, and because we want to bring more women into the technology field, and we want to grow them, become the next generation technology leader, so they can be the forefront of innovation. That's our first mission. Our second one, and we want to provide a forum, something to do like this. You know, we have the company will sponsor us, and we also have our own venue in Istazabu. So sometimes we have a nice speaker. We put all this event together. We want to provide a forum to inspire, connect, empower, and also sponsor women in technology. But we based here, particularly we are doing based in Japan. So number 3 we do is empower. So what we do, once we got empowered, we like everybody to stand up for yourself, and you can change the status quo. And you also need to really realize your full potential, and to make a possible impact to around your society or you in your office. Okay, so I just want to briefly introduce you what we did in the past 5 years. Okay? There's 3 things actually we do. Once we do the major event like we are doing now. We probably do a little bit irregularly because we all have a full-time job. So this is a volunteer organization. We don't have any funding. We actually use our own money doing things. So if we can find a very good sponsor or the collaboration like what we're doing today, so then we put this event together. So we had a past quite a few events here. That's one I just mentioned, the Wakana. She did one for us, it's the disability in IT. So we did one with the Goldman Sachs that's focused on IoT and women's participation. We're really trying to focus more on technology issues, and also and helping women understand why you need to get a career in IT. You know, what opportunity are there, or provide opportunity to learn about what is going on in technology. What should I learn next? So we did quite a lot. Sometimes we did workshop. Now we have event. We also do workshop. Workshop is helping women to build their confidence. And sometimes we have a workshop also helping women to to teach you how to do negotiation to get more salary, and how to raise your hand to be a manager in your company, you know, and how to fight with this power harassment, or sometimes we have a sexual harassment in the company. All that sort of thing. We're trying to also provide a workshop to help women to understand, and how do you know, some of you have problems, sometimes it's very hard to talk inside the company. So you have a place, sometimes you can raise your voice. Maybe someone have the same issue with you, so you can sort of networking and talk about it. So we have a workshop, and we also have mentor dinner. Mentor, usually we pick the very successful women who actually have it all. I think sometimes women think it's so hard to, oh, I have a job. And if I focus on job, I can't have family, I can't have children. It's so hard to manage everything. Being a woman, you have elderly, particularly Japanese women. It's too much to manage. You have elderly. If you get married, you have to look after your husband's parents. When you have children, you have everything. And at the same time, you also want to have time for yourself. So how do you manage on that? But there's quite a few women actually did it. So we're trying to pick the women who did it all. You can have it all. Then how those women have it all? How they can have a job? They also have a family, have a kids. How can they manage everything together? It's not everybody can do it, but we do have women did it. So we want to bring those women as a mentor dinner. We have a place in Anzai, a little French restaurant. We shoot about 12 to 14 people. I think quite a few people here been to that, right? Been to the mentor dinner. We have actually one woman who's, I think she is the president of Coca-Cola. She has 5 kids. She has 5 kids and have a husband, and she's managing very well. Of course, she has a very supporting husband. That's a very important issue. So I'm so happy to see so many men here. So we do that irregularly. And before we also did a meet-up because we also trying to encourage women thinking about if you can't manage it all, maybe sometimes you can think about maybe start something yourself and work from home or something flexible. So we're trying to have a little bit meet-up, so encouraging women thinking about maybe what is the timing you can start thinking about having your own career, your own business. I think today we're actually very happy to have at Viktoriya, we have a 2-person they're willing to present to helping women on their entrepreneurship. How do you start your own business? They want to empower women on the entrepreneurship. We have a presentation later on. Okay, and we also did, how do you bring more women into technology field? And you have to start from when they're young. I'm so happy today we have some student here. We have Polly. We have some student here. Yeah, we have some student here. She's a 2nd year university. So we actually go to university to give some presentation, encouraging the women that thinking about get IT job. We also go into the high school. We done the American school in Japan. We done the Sacred Heart. We go to high school and try encouraging them to study STEM. Because if you're coming from non-technical background, it's very difficult to get into the programming, that sort of technical field. But I'm sure your service can help enough. But it's better you starting from more STEM engineering background. So that's what we're trying to do. And also, we're very honored we've been to the OECD. I've been presented to the OECD twice to run a workshop, to provide the data. We're also helping provide some data to OECD. I don't know if you know about OECD. It's an organization, a developing country. There's about 33 developing companies together. This organization is trying to advise each country policy, economy issue, but they're lacking of Japanese data, particularly women, because they're very, very interesting. The Japanese has very low in the I think it's OECD ranking the gender diversity. I think Japan is ranked number 102, I think. 102, yeah, in terms of gender diversity. So we actually did, I did twice in OECD to helping run the workshop and how to provide some data for OECD, for the particularly Japanese women, gender diversity data. Okay, so this is our past event, and the next one, how can you help us? How can you help Women in Technology Japan? I think I would like you to join our mission, so you can check out. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn. We post our event in those social medias, and support our mission. But most importantly, we'd like you to be a change agent. Okay, we all can. It's so hard to change everything, but you can start by changing. If you think something in your organization is not right, or you think something needs to change, you see you're not being treated properly, you can raise your voice. Okay? You raise your voice, and you can and go to your boss and discuss with the issue. So we'd like you to be a change agent, not just be silent. So really raise your voice. Sometimes you can come to our event. Once we have something you can discuss, and then if you need some help, you should raise your voice. And the last thing is like just support Women in Technology Japan. And this is really truly a volunteer organization. We just want to make a little change. And I remember once we had an event. There's a woman who come to me. They say, "Annie, you did a presentation." I have a few women together did a presentation for them. They said, "Because your presentation, and after I graduated, I decided to become an IT consultant." Can you think? That made me so happy. I think all the work we have done, just one person or two person who come to me because we come to your event and I decide now I want to go for that career. So I was very happy, and I think we have to continue doing, even just changing 1 or 2%. So just support us and spread the word around. And we do a lot of free event, and also we need a sponsor. If a company willing to sponsor, put an event together, and we're welcome. And so that's only my introduction. And we have the program. Okay, you see how we have, this is about today's agenda. Now I want to introduce Yan.
Hi, thank you. Before we get started with everything else, there's a seat over here, and for the people who just came in, thank you all so much for coming. We did not anticipate so many people, but I'm really excited for all of you to be here. I just want to quickly, before we get to the rest of the program, talk about Code Chrysalis. Code Chrysalis, for those of you who don't know, we are a full-stack software engineering immersive. We teach in English. I'm one of the co-founders. Connie, the other co-founder, is running around, I think, doing some errands, but if you catch him, we're happy to talk about this later. I want to really quickly introduce what we do and how we do it. We have 3 main missions in Japan. The first one is to create software engineering leaders. For us, being a leader is more than just having technical skills. We think that technical skills, that's just the base. For us, being a software engineering leader means having great communication skills, because you need to be able to communicate with your team, with non-technical people, with investors, with business people. We also think that you need to have empathy. So we create products for other people. So having empathy for the user is really important for us. Third, we really focus on building autonomy. Why autonomy? Technology moves so fast that you can't really rely on always being able to find an answer to something. You need to be autonomous and be able to independently learn on your own. The second mission that we have is to empower women. We do a lot of outreach. We work with AnitaB.org. I am one of the co-ambassadors for the AnitaB.org Tokyo chapter. We also do a lot of women-focused coding events. So all sorts of stuff. For us, we really try to strive for gender equality or gender representation in both our class and also on our team. And then the third thing that we do is we build community. So we hold a lot of events that are free and open to the community. We want to try to stimulate discussion, stimulate sharing, and stimulate communication within the Tokyo tech scene. So really quickly about our immersive program, it's 12 weeks. Some people think that's crazy long. For us, we wish it were longer, but we've really shortened what we can do to these 12 weeks. It's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's full time. You have to quit your job or take a break from your job in order to do it. It also comes with over 15 hours of homework every week. So in these 12 weeks, you're learning a lot of material. So you might be wondering, who is crazy enough to do a program like this? Well, we typically attract 3 types of people. Entrepreneurs, so people who have an idea and want to be able to create something. We attract current developers, so people who are currently software developers or software engineers and want to level up their skills, maybe learn something a little bit more cutting edge, get some more experience in some other part of technology. And we have a lot of career changers. So these are people who are doing something completely different and want to switch into software. I'm going to call you out, Bo. Bo back there is in our current crop of students. He was an English teacher before, and right now he's going through our program. So thanks for letting me call you out. So we've got a bit of a process to get into our immersive program. First part of it is an online application. So in order to apply to the program, you have to finish a coding challenge to submit your application. Second part of it, we have 2 interviews. We have a non-technical interview and a technical interview. And this is to see if you have hit our technical levels. And then we have pre-course. So after you get past our interview process, we actually have 1 to 2 months worth of homework that you have to do. These are projects that you do in your own pace. Why is there so much work? Well, we think all of this stuff you can do on your own. You don't need to take a class. There's a lot of free material out there, and we think that you can do it. So we have set that bar. It is very accessible for beginners who don't know anything and want to reach it. Because after you hit our bar, then we get to do the really fun stuff. So our pre-course curriculum, so this is the homework that we give, covers a lot of material. So usually a typical program like ours will only cover this stuff. For us, this is just the materials that you have to finish before our real program begins. So this is advanced programming fundamentals, HTML and CSS, things like recursion, some basic data structures, so all the things to get you started. And then you might ask, what is in your technical curriculum then? Well, our technical curriculum we divide into 5 parts. Computer science and JavaScript fundamentals, so covering computer science fundamentals that we think are really important that you need to know. And then we move into server side, so understanding back-end, things like databases, servers, stuff like that. Then we move on into the front end, so all the stuff that you see when you go to a web application, modern frameworks, things like that. We also talk about software development leadership as well as continuous integration and delivery. So for us, there's all these things that make a software engineer successful or a software team successful. That's developer operations, and that's product management. And so for us, having a great understanding of both of these aspects is important to be a very effective software engineer. So our post-graduation curriculum, we start our graduates off with, we start our students off in the second half of our program, preparing them for the job market. So this covers everything from how to write a really solid resume to how do you negotiate your salary. What do you email back? How do you email? How do you cold email someone that you meet? Job hunt strategy. For entrepreneurs, we also provide support and, of course, networking help. And this is lifelong support, because for us, successful graduate is not just someone who is able to get their first job. We think a successful graduate is someone who climbs to the very top of that company or starts their own successful company. So we stay with you for career mentorship as you move on with your career. So some of our graduates have received engineering offers from a few awesome companies. RGA, Paidy, so one of our software engineers, that's one of our panelists today, Kumiko, was actually a graduate of our program, and she doubled her salary going to Paidy. So this is just some of the really cool companies that our graduates have gotten offers from. Our starting salary for junior software engineers is around $6.5 million per year. That's for an industry that typically pays people with less than 1 year of experience, less than 4 million yen a year. So we have a pretty good increase from the market average, and that's because of all the extra stuff that we arm our graduates with. So if you're interested, please apply. Our next cohorts start July 9th and October 8th. Please tell people about our program. I know a lot of people are really interested. I'll be talking a bit more about my own personal coding journey, but please tell people about our program. If you're at a cool company, we would love to partner with you. So please reach out if you're at a cool company. Here are some of the partners that we work with. Pivotal, of course, Yui, who's one of our panelists, will be talking about her work at Pivotal. We also work with cool companies like Rakuten AirMap, Omise Go, which does blockchain stuff, Kyoken, which does blockchain stuff, Teams, which is really active in the startup ecosystem in Tokyo. So these are just some of the cool companies we work with. We also have a bunch of upcoming events. I know this is a lot of stuff. If you go to our meetup page, all of this information is listed. And these are all free. So please come. We would love to see more faces. And yeah, please add us. We have vlogs that you can check out on our YouTube site, or on our YouTube channel. So just look up Code Chrysalis on YouTube and you'll be able to see all of them. We were playing them in the beginning. We have events, so meetup.com/CodeChrysalis. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at /CodeChrysalis. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce, let's go back to our agenda. I want to introduce Viktoriya and Edvard to talk about the work that they do with supporting female entrepreneurs.
Education, family, your background makes you this. This is your level, where are you now? So if you think that within 20 years nothing will change and you don't want to change anything, the personal branding is not for you. But if you want to change something, you realize that you have some unique points, you have some strengths, you are different. And this pattern, like your character, like your cultural background, like your DNA, is unique. This is you. You look at yourself. You are in the program. So, you discover your strengths. You discover your good points. You brush your skills. You become professional and become your own personal brand. But this is not only for you. This is also for people around you. You present yourself like this for everyone, to let people judge you like this. And actually, you also help the community.
Thank you. Yes, you're welcome.
And this flower, and each of you inside of you. But Edward will provide more information.
Hello, ladies. Hello, men for supporting this community. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, Annie, for inviting us. So today, Viktoriya and I, we actually want to help you to understand how you can leverage personal brand in order to get the job you want, in order to build your business, in order to be visible to your target audience. So maybe we can clarify first, it's a buzzword, what personal branding is. How many of you have a definition of the personal branding for themselves? Nobody? Oh, wow. Okay, so there is many definitions of personal branding, but which definition we are most satisfied, Viktoriya and I, is actually how other people see you. What is your value for them? It's not about you, it's about others. So that's a common mistake. People think that selfie is a personal branding, but it's not. It's your picture. So please, if you want to be visible, use your real name, use a real picture on social media. Because otherwise you are promoting people which does not exist. Online and offline, personal branding is something everybody has. Everybody has. The thing is, do you want to leverage? Do you have ambition? Do you want to reach and make people know what you are standing for? What are your values? What is your business? People buy because of emotions. People support emotion with some kind of data, but always they buy because they like you, especially in Japan, they trust you, and they have a relationship with you. So you have to think about, what is my personal brand? What do other people think about me? To build reputation, that takes for a while. It's really hard to build reputation, your attitude, everything's count. How you're going to present, what kind of words you are using when you present, what is your voice, what is your gesture, everything is count. So it's important. Do you want to increase your influence? Do you know what influence means? That means people comes to you. You don't need to sell hard. People comes to your brand. Like even in a company brand, if you talk about Amazon, Facebook, everybody knows. So people, the best talented people, they want to join that companies. Same with you. If you have a strong personal brand, people who want to reach you out, they will come to you. They will send you a message. They will find on the LinkedIn, Facebook, Line, whatever. So think about why that is important. The question is, why personal branding for women in tech? So this is the data which is provided by Japanese government about the current situation about women in leadership, about women in the workplace, and how many actually women working for 1 million yen and less than 1 million annually. So this is something, as Annie mentioned, we cannot change straightforward. But what we can do, we can change ourselves first, we can build a community and show the example that it's possible to stand out, to be successful, to be visible in a company, to be promoted. Why in tech? I used to work for the startup, and what I found for tech startup, we developed a mobile application for Android and for iOS. What I found actually, women, they have a better sense to understand customer needs, better than men. We are focusing, engineers always focusing in marketing team, what we can do the best. But actually people, they want to buy what you can do the best. They want to buy solution for their problems. And that is where women come on the place, because they know the user experience is the key. Make it easy to people to use your application. That's the key. And make sure that you are solving some problem. Also, you want to help other women to join, because at the moment, like, there are not many, and there is a different issue in the company. But if it's like 20%, 30%, then it's kind of normal. And women in tech company, they bring innovation. The key word is innovation. So without women in tech company and any kind of company, it's very difficult to be innovative. And I'm going to share a story about me. So this image, how many of you know about this image? Where is this town? How many of you? Only one person. Oh, 面白いですね. Actually, this is the very famous spot in Croatia. I'm originally from Croatia, and this is Dubrovnik. We have one person from Dubrovnik here. Hello. So later on, if somebody wants to visit this place, just let me know. I will be happy to help you. It's protected by UNESCO, by the way. So I'm coming from this beautiful place, this beautiful country on the Mediterranean Sea, and now in Japan. So why I'm in Japan? So that's the question which most of the people ask me. Well, I decided 10 years ago to get out from my comfort zone. I had a very stable job, good salary, house, car, everything was nice. And then I said, it's not enough. Something's missing. And that actually when your inner voice tells you that you want to change. And that change, when I decide, things start to happen. I met my wife, she is Japanese, now I'm here. When I joined in Japan 4.5 years ago, I attended the MBA, #1 business school in Japan at Globis University. And then I joined in startup company. And what I learned in a startup company, passion is not enough. Great team is not enough. You need to have something which is coming from your heart for people. Okay? So even if you have a great team, great idea, even you have a fund, it's still not enough. You need to struggle. You need to get out from your comfort zone. You want to change the world. That's how you can be successful. And that's personal branding is critical. Think about Steve Jobs. Why people buy iPhone? Because of the hardware or because of Steve Jobs? Think about it. Okay, so I realized I cannot present women in Japan as a man. So then I started research. I interviewed like 250 executives, senior women on very good position to understand what is the current issue. And hopefully, and I was very happy, I met Viktoriya. She's a business owner for the last 10 years. She's a mom of 2 sons, so it's possible to be a mom and to be a business owner. And she's also have the same value as me. We have the same mission, and that's helping women to change. First, you have to change, and we're going to support you. Ladies and gentlemen, Viktoriya, please give some answers.
This is my city. I'm originally from Russia. This is Novgorod Veliki between St. Petersburg and Moscow. It is also UNESCO heritage city. Yes. So, I came to Japan 17 years ago. I didn't speak any Japanese language. I was housewife with 2 kids in Ibaraki Prefecture, in Ushiku City. Now I'm single mother with 2 kids in Ushiku City, in Ibaraki Prefecture. And people ask me, what is the recipe of your success? I just say I was bored at home very much. So when my kids grow up a bit, kindergarten and elementary school, I started to think about my employment. And yes, first idea was come to Tokyo, 2 hours by train one way. If you have kids, it's impossible. So option 2, job in the supermarket as a shop clerk. I got the job. I was standing half day. I was working like 1 year and learned Japanese from the scratch by myself. I passed examination for driving license in Japanese language. Finally started to drive a car because I couldn't use my Russian driving license in Japan. I started to drive and I got my dream job in the trading company as a part-time worker. Finally I could sit down in the chair. So I was dependent on my husband. It was 1 million yen per year. I was doing some paperwork. I cleaned toilets. I served tea for the male co-workers and I wiped dust. I was excluded from any decision making and no chance to be promoted. But I had a degree in economics from Russian University, and when I worked as a part-time, I also graduated University of London, Politics and International Relations with 2nd class of honors, staying in Ushiku in Ibaraki Prefecture, and I asked myself, I have degree in politics, I have degree in economics, should I clean toilets for the rest of my life for 1 million yen per year, just because I live in Ushiku with 2 kids? So I started to work for myself. I just make a database for Russian trading companies, for Japanese trading companies, connected them, and start to work at home in Ushiku in Ibaraki Prefecture as a trading consultant. And I'm doing this for the last 11 years, even at home, as a private entrepreneur. Because 7 years ago, my friend, she came to me, Kumiko Tsurasaki, she is the president of Primavera Japan child care company in Ushiko in Ibaraki prefecture, 5 minutes by car from my house. She came to me and said, let's help me with my child care facility. And I entered in her facility, I started to teach English for free as a volunteer. And this is, I wanted to do, the social business. I want education system in Japan to be changed. I want kids to be bright, independent, no bullying at school. I want worked women to be empowered by proper child care. I want single mothers to be empowered and taken out of poverty. This is what I wanted to do. Social disadvantaged family, social business. When I talked about this to my ex-husband, he said, are you crazy? Look at yourself, you're foreign in Ushiko, what are you talking about? So finally, 1 year ago, me and Tomoka, we established Michelle Club in NPO. And we do childcare, child rear, elderly care consulting regarding family issues, empowering of single mothers. We are also working with local government, domestic violence victims. Now we are top 3 childcare in Tokyo, #1 in Ibaraki. We are nominated company by Business Administration, by Mito government, Ibaraki prefecture. So I asked my ex, how about now? We are doing really well. And actually, when Ed asked me to join him, I was delightful to do that because I want to use my experience as a business owner, as a mother, as a NPO director to empower women and promote their personal brand.
Thank you, Viktoriya. So, it's time for some action. How you gonna build your brand? First, you have to be honest with yourself what you are good at, what are your skills. If you don't know, ask your colleagues, ask your boss, ask your people who knows you the best. So it's simple, and think what is your unique point, what is something you are the best, because all of us, believe me, have one thing which is unique to us, and that is source of your brand, and you can develop that. If you just keep it for yourself, that's very beautiful. But you want to help others. So bring that to the world. Help others through technology, through your business. You can help in a company, take a leadership position, be promoted, take some project, lead. It's not enough just to have a dream. It's not enough just to have a passion. You need to have a system. So actually, I attend a business mentorship program and personal branding program with Richard Branson, very famous entrepreneurs all over the world. So I bring that program to you here in Tokyo. I want to give you opportunity to learn from the best in the industry. So this system, which we're going to show you now, is something which, if you start from the scratch, which is the next slide, means I want to do something, I want to join in some company, but I don't know how. I don't know what my strengths are. I don't know how to find first customer. I don't know how to find investors. I don't know how to connect with the media. All those kind of things you have to clarify. And that is very important if you want to start your own business, if you want to be visible, online and offline, to clarify who is your target audience, what kind of problems they have, and how you're going to solve that problem. And it should be something which is very frustrating. It should be a big problem, not something small problem, because you have to monetize your solution. People will say, yes, Ed, your program is great, or your application is great. Do you want to buy? No. So it should be something which is very critical to solve. Think about it. So our method is also to develop your story. People want to hear your story. As I said, every single person in this room have a personal story. But if you don't know how to present yourself, you don't have a chance to reach investors, to reach VC, because they want to hear your story. What is the reason why you started the company? Because it's fancy? Because everybody are doing that? Or because you really have something you want to make a difference? You want to be a change maker. Packaging and branding, that's critical. How you're gonna actually market your product by using digital marketing funnel, how you're gonna actually have a pricing strategy, because believe me, on any startup, I joined like 3 or 4 startups and I help them, the fuel is the money. And you need to understand how to make money. So pricing and branding is critical. How to make a rapport with your customers? Well, you have to understand who are people who likes you. Are they old? Are they senior people? Are they young? Are they women? Are they male? Are they between 25? What is their education? And when you know that you have a rapport, they will listen to you. If you want to try sell an idea to someone you don't have rapport with, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible. And finally, it's something which is from you, from your heart. If you try to develop brand which is fake, people will understand, and they will not do business with you. Viktoriya.
Yes, and this is number 5 for me. Leadership skills, leave your comfort zone, find a diamond in the dust, negotiations and Aikido style. I think it's just number words for you. The point is, I learned that from social welfare professionals. I work with them. So if you want to achieve something you never did before, you have to do something you never done before. So if everything is bad, it's actually very good because you're living your comfort zone. And leadership skills, this is how to do that effectively. Stress resistant, and another patterns of your thinking, because all answers in you, in your brain, how to activate that. This is about that. And diamond in the dust about communication. It's critical, right? You communicate with investors, with partners and stuff. It's very Russian idiom. There is no such thing as boring and interesting people. Everybody is unique. The bottom line, just harassive people or abusive people, of course you never communicate, but the rest of them, everybody is unique. So this diamond, it's inside of you like that flower. You have to find it out. You have to listen. You have to discover. First in yourself and after that in others. So you will attract people like magnet. And you will be diamond at some point by yourself. You will attract influencers, you will attract investors, you will attract potential business partners. This is all about communications. Aikido style. Actually, Aikido, it's not about who is the strongest in order to win, who is smart and flexible. It's very popular in Russia, in business trainings. If you are dealing with the male CEO with power and money, or with an investor, or somebody powerful, how to win, and how to make win-win situation in long run, and fruitful relationship. But also, negotiations in my seminars are based on psychological types of people. Everybody has this type, like your DNA. But the tricky thing is, people are playing role because of historic culture, tradition, gender. The person can play a role which he is not actually is. So you have to identify him and yourself and build this negotiation tactics and strategy in order to be successful. So, actually, as a result of our program, you would be more skillful, you can attract more customers, you will move every time to the next step effectively, and of course, we are always on your side as your mentors to help you to do that, because by yourself it's very, very difficult. You can reach better position in your career, you can start your own business, you can attract influence, you can attract investors. So, what is personal branding about? Yes, as I said, better job, start your own business or accelerate that, actually have better life, I guess.
And for the end of this presentation, I just want to show you what some of the famous people think about personal branding.
It's not only us.
This is one of the famous.
During networking session, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask about this program.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And final, actually, call to action is take control of your life. Do what you think is the best for you. But definitely, if you don't control your brand, somebody else will control your brand. Thank you.
Hey everyone, how's everyone feeling? Yeah? Oh, I heard nothing. How's everyone feeling? Good. Can I hear that again? Good. Okay. That's good enough. So I think I'm going to be talking a little bit about intro to programming. Where are we at? Magic. Okay. So a lot of people ask me this. Why is everyone learning how to code? I get this question a lot, especially when people find out my background. Before I jump into this, Annie in her introduction was talking about some statistics. I actually have another talk where I talk about the state of women in tech, so I pulled up some of those slides, and I have them in here, right up there. So this is what a lot of people don't realize about Japan. Japan does very, very poorly when it comes to gender relations. So the World Economic Forum every year comes out with a gender gap report. 2017 is the most recent one. Out of 144 countries, Japan ranks at number 114 in terms of gender gap. So this was actually a bit of a fall. I think Japan last year in 2016 was at number 111. So it actually fell 2 places rather than rising. So what is this gender gap telling us? Well, instead of comparing Japanese women to, say, women in Nigeria, it's comparing Japanese women to Japanese men and then ranking it against the world with other countries. So Nigerian men, Nigerian women, American men, American women. And they look at a few things and they rank all of that together. So when you compare the amount of power, economic opportunity, educational opportunity, health outcomes of Japanese men to Japanese women, and you compare it to the rest of the world, Japan actually ranks really low. And this number is very shocking for men and women in Japan because things are so comfortable here, right? Convenience stores are everywhere. We have great public transportation here. So, of course, when you compare, say, a woman in Japan with a woman from, I don't know, what's a country not doing very well? Congo. Of course, Japanese women have it very good. But when you compare it to how good Japanese men have it, that's where we see a huge problem. All right? So what are some of the things they look at? They look at 4 parts. Economics, so how much economic opportunity, how much spending power, how many positions of power in companies do women have? They look at education, so how much education does a woman have compared to a man in that country? They look at health, so how healthy is a woman compared to how healthy is a man? And they look at politics. What is the political representation? So the average score is the line right here. You can see that Japan falls very short of the average in almost all 4 quadrants, right? So when it comes to the economy, how much economic opportunity women have, you can see that Japan is quite a bit below average. When it comes to education, Japan is on average. It's average in education. When it comes to health, even though women in Japan live such a long time, right? Longest lifespans in the world, compared to men, average, right? When it comes to politics, Huge difference. The average for the world is still very low, right? The average for the world is here. It's not even barely past the quarter mark. In Japan, Japanese women barely have 10% of the political power as Japanese men. These are really shocking numbers, right? Before I go on to the actual presentation, I just wanted to bring that up. We're so comfortable living in Japan, such low crime. Convenience stores are great. But I just want us to be really aware that there is so much power to unlock in Japan. As you can see, women are only utilized at number 113 in the world, right? And so what will happen, what can happen if we unlock that power? So I want everyone to just be really aware of that. There's a lot of power in this country, 50% of the population. And according to this chart, only a small fraction of that is actually being used. So please be aware. Anyhow, let's talk about programming. So, I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Yan. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Code Chrysalis. My background is a bit strange. I had no obvious interest or experience in any kind of technology when I was growing up. I actually majored in economics and Arabic in university. I actually first just majored in Arabic, and then I realized I needed to get a job. So I put economics in at the very end so I could get a job in finance. And then after university, I worked in commodities trading. So I was in finance for a couple years. So I grew up in Seattle. So a lot of people, when they hear that I'm a software engineer, they think like, oh, you must have grown up surrounded by tech. And yes, I was. I did grow up surrounded by tech. I just did not care for it at all, right? I had Microsoft in my backyard, Amazon, Expedia, Zillow, didn't care at all. How did I do it, and how did I get interested? A lot of people, when they find out my switch into tech, one of the big questions that they ask me is, how long did it take? And I used to have a really bad answer. It depended on how I felt. Sometimes I would say, a few months, or a year. So I actually went through my calendar and looked it up, and here's what it looks like. So I got interested in coding because I really hated being in finance. I didn't like my job. I had so many ideas for companies that I wanted to start, didn't know how to start them. So I actually entered a hackathon, and I got some attention from investors. I was a business person, and so when all the developers during this hackathon were making their beautiful apps, I went out and got clients. So I got a bit of investor interest during this hackathon, right? People would present their beautiful applications, and at the end, I would present no application, but I had a list of people who wanted to work with me. So I thought maybe I should add on a little bit of tech so I can be, a little bit more, I can do a little bit more. So that's what led to casual exploring and coding, which took about 3 months. And this is when I was thinking, like, should I do it? Should I not? I was online. I was coding a little. I would code a little one weekend, forget to do it the next and the next and the next. I kept losing interest because it's really boring to get started. And then I would get all of this energy and ambition like 2 weekends later and decide to do more work, and then I would lose interest. This went about for 3 months. I also was still working. I had a really great job in finance, and it was one of those great jobs that let me take really great Instagram pictures and Facebook pictures. So people were really jealous of my job, and I was like, am I really crazy to leave this? Like, I hate this job. So these were the things going through my mind. I was also going to tech meetups like this one. I was living in Singapore at the time and went to a lot of events like this. And then I had a period of 3 months of what I call determined coding. So this is when I decided I'm going to learn how to code. And so I started to do things more consistently. I decided after work, I'm going to do this 3 days a week and on weekends. I'm going to learn. It was when I started telling people this crazy idea of mine. I went on Facebook and looked up my friends who were software engineers or some kind of an engineer, and I would tell them, I want to do what you do. Can you help me? So I was letting other people know. And I decided I was not crazy, that I really did not like my job, and I needed to get out. And I was asking for help a lot. This was really important. When I told my friends, when I told people in my life, people naturally, because they were my friends, came out to help me. And that was really important, that I had some people in my life that were telling me, this is doable, that you can actually do this. And as I reached out for more help, more information showed up. People were telling me about programs that I could go to. So then I went into what I call serious coding. And this is when I decided I'm going to fully quit my job. I'm going to devote time to this. So I started coding every day, all day. I quit my job. This was my first job out of university, so it was quite scary going and quitting. But the minute I said it, oh, it was so great. I still remember how I felt that day. I had the biggest smile on my face as I was walking through my office, waving goodbye at all of my colleagues. And they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to go into IT. At the time, they thought, on the trading side, you're very, very arrogant. They think IT was Ray, the guy that comes and turns off your computer at night. So they thought that I was giving up my trading job to be Ray and turn people's computers on and off. So then, when I reached out for help, people were telling me about all sorts of programs. And I found out about a few boot camps in the US, and so I decided to apply to one of them. I got in, spent 3 months at that boot camp, and then I spent about 1 month looking for a job, and I landed a job at a great company on a great team. And what I was most happy about, for total, it was about 13 months from when I had the idea to when I finally got that job. So finally I got to change my LinkedIn profile to software engineer, which I was so excited by. So I have a few goals for you today. I think we're very low on time, so I'm going to quickly see how much of this I can get through. I want you to be a bit more comfortable in conversations about software. I want to answer any questions that you might have, maybe not now, but maybe after during the networking event. I'm happy to talk about it. And I want to give you guys some resources to look at if you want to start learning how to code, if you just want to play around, or if you're curious. A huge question that people have, and program is a word that we use in our everyday language, but many people struggle to define what a program is. So what is a program? A program is a set of instructions to tell a computer what to do. All right? Computers are really stupid, so we have to tell them each and everything they have to do. So programming is the action, the act of writing these instructions. That's all it is. So humans versus computers. When we think of computers, the word for computer in Chinese is electric brain. And in many ways, it's a great way to translate the word computer, but in many ways it's not. So humans are able to make something called intuitive leaps. These are leaps of logic that don't need any further instruction. Computers are not able to form this logic by themselves. So in order for a computer to do something, we need to give it instructions or programs. So computers are really stupid, right? But why do we use them? Because they're so fast. If you give them the correct set of instructions, they can do it faster than humans, usually. And humans are really lazy and we're kind of slow, but we are very intelligent. We're able to make these leaps of intuition. So, what do these leaps of intuition mean? What do I mean by that? So if I go and tell Felix right here, Felix, wave, hi, this is Felix, he's our lead instructor. If I tell him to please go get me a coffee, he needs no further instruction, typically. He can go up, try to find a convenience store, and get a coffee, right? If I tell a computer that, we're going to have some trouble. So the computer needs more specific instructions, like walk upstairs, go onto the street, turn to the right, walk until you see the Family Mart, go inside, go to the refrigerator, grab a coffee, take coffee to cash register. This is a lot of, come back, give coffee to Yan, right? A lot of instruction. What's worse, well, yes, is this good enough, though? Are these instructions good enough for a computer? If a computer were a person? Probably not, right? Walk upstairs. How do you walk? You need to tell a computer how to walk, right? So you need to stand with both legs straight. I don't need to teach you guys how to walk. You can walk. But this is probably what walking would look like for a computer if I were to give a computer some instructions, all right? There's also logic. A computer needs to be taught logic, right? So what if there's no Family Mart? Oh my goodness. Like, I need to program it, right? To maybe look for a convenience store or maybe a cafe, right? If you see a Starbucks, go in the Starbucks, right? So there's a lot of stuff. And then there's also, which coffee is the right coffee? You have a lot of different options for coffee. So there's all of these problems that computers have. So that's a lot of stuff, right? So why is learning how to program so important? This is another question that I get. You can see it seems kind of tedious, right? There's a lot of things to do. So why do you need to learn it? Or why do we think, what can you do with it? Well, Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, said everyone in this country, and by this country he means America, but I think he also meant the world, so we can say everyone in the world should learn how to program a computer because it teaches you how to think. So, the transitions did not work out there. So, I decided to learn how to code because it provided me with fantastic flexibility. So that's flexibility in terms of location. That's flexibility in my ability to take risks. For me, when I finally became a software engineer, I didn't feel like I needed a particular company. When I was a trader, I was so scared to leave my company because where else do I go? As a software engineer, if you don't treat me well, I can go somewhere else, right? There are so many companies that could hire me. There's so many things that I could do. I don't feel dependent on any company or anyone. It also gave me a lot of power, right? I have an app idea. I don't need to wait for someone to make it for me. I don't need to beg one of my friends to maybe create a quick thing for me. I can just do it for myself. And it gave me power for what I wanted in my life. I had a lot more control over things that I wanted to do. So I also gained a lot from learning. I learned how to think in a very structured way, but it was also quite creative. So structured in the sense that I really need to take something as simple as, for instance, go get a coffee, and think about it in a logical way, in what steps are needed, what tasks are needed to finish this. I also was able to actually understand why technology is so difficult and have a better understanding of all the different technology that we use and appreciate it a bit more. And lastly, I learned a lot about failure and being okay with failure. A friend of mine, another software engineering friend of mine, told me, and this was fantastic what he said. He said, engineering is like a never-ending series of errors. All you get are errors. You keep getting errors. Occasionally you'll get something right, but for the most part you learn through making mistakes. So we practice something called test-driven development at Code Chrysalis. And the whole idea of test-driven development is you write your tests first, and then you keep writing code until finally the test passes. So getting used to that kind of persistence and getting used to seeing an error or seeing some kind of failure, and then really being comfortable with it and overcoming it, thinking my way out of it. I thought that was really useful. So without further ado, let's talk about some programming languages. This is very high level. There are 3 types of programming languages: low level, middle level, and high level. All right? Low level and mid level are things that we don't really use at all or we don't code in at all anymore. So most jobs do not require you at all to know mid or low levels. So this is the kind of actual building blocks of what our software sits on. Machine code are 0s and 1s. This is low level. And then at some point there was an assembler, so a program that went and changed these 0s and 1s into something that kind of looked like a language, right? Most people work on high-level languages. So things like JavaScript or Python, Java, Ruby. So these are languages that usually that people are using nowadays. So I chose JavaScript. Why JavaScript? A lot of people, when they first start coding, they are always curious about what language should I choose. Should I choose Ruby? Should I choose JavaScript? For me, I chose JavaScript, and I'll quickly talk about why. JavaScript is the language of the browser. So everyone has a JavaScript engine, so something on their computer that can read the code. They have it on their computer, and they use it every day. And that is the browser. JavaScript is the language of the browser. So not Python, not Ruby. So if you want to do anything that has to do with the browser, a web application or a website, you're going to need to know some JavaScript. There was a really great quote that Mark Andreessen, very famous Silicon Valley investor and also entrepreneur and software engineer, he said in 2007, software is eating up the world. Then someone decided to edit that and say that apps were eating up software that was eating up the world. I like to put web apps in there. Web apps are eating up software that are eating up the world. Well, people say, well, what's a web application and what's a website then? Does anyone know? All right. So, a website is informational. A website is something that you would go to get information. A web application is also a website, but it's interactive. So if I go to facebook.com, that is interactive. It's a website, but it's really more of an application, right? It remembers me, it remembers my friends, I can talk to people on it, I can see people's dog photos, cat photos. So I like to say a restaurant website versus something like Yelp or Tabelog, okay. Connie always makes fun of me for when I speak Japanese. So a restaurant website is where you go to get information. So it's a website. Yelp or something like Gurunavi or Tabelog, that's a web application. So it remembers information about you. You're getting information from it. It's interactive, right? So that's the main difference between the two. So another big reason why I chose JavaScript as my first language is I read this quote. The co-founder of Stack Overflow, which is a really famous website that developers use, he once said in 2007, any application that can be written in JavaScript will eventually be written in JavaScript. That goes back to this chart that I have, right? This little, not chart, this little graphic I have. Web apps are eating up software, which are eating up the world. So, I put that in there because a lot of these software that we used to use is now online, right? It used to be that for email, I would open up an email program on my computer and check my email from there. Now, I just go to gmail.com, right? It used to be that for my calendar, I would open up a calendar program on my computer. Now, I go to a calendar online where I see everything, right? Same with Word. Using Microsoft Word, I don't use Microsoft Word anymore. I shift to using Google Docs. So there's a lot of things where these services that we used to have on our computer, these programs that we would download and install, we're now accessing them from the browser. So the language of the browser is JavaScript. Another reason why I chose it is that there is a huge and competitive community that's really diverse, which means that there's always innovative things going on in the JavaScript world. There's a lot of change happening. I think it's the best language for beginners to pick up. There's a lot of free information online. I think it's actually the most free beginner information in any language is in JavaScript, so it's very accessible. A lot of online resources. It can also be written in many ways. It can be written in a more functional way. It can be written in a more object-oriented way. These are like two different styles of structuring. It can be written in a lot of different ways without having to switch to another language. And it's high impact. You can open up your browser and start writing JavaScript in there and see it working. There's also no need to context switch. So with JavaScript, you can do backend, which is probably a word that you guys have heard, but this is kind of the systems that contain information that your web applications can talk to. It can be used for the front end, which is all the text, images, the boxes and things that you would see on a web page that you interact with. It can be used for mobile apps. So Netflix's mobile app is written in JavaScript, for instance. Parts of it are. It can also be used for IoT devices, so Internet of Things, so like, your coffee machine and stuff. And if you are a software engineer focused on web applications, it's really hard to ignore JavaScript. So I wrote more things in this blog that you can check out. I know this seems like a huge pitch for JavaScript, but really, I think you should. Here are some sources. There you go. Stick to one online course is my first suggestion. Another one on here is actually to stick to one language. A big mistake that beginners have when they get started is that they choose to do a little bit of Ruby, a little bit of Python, a little bit of JavaScript. So just choose one language because you want to learn more of the concepts, and then it'll make it easy to transition to another language. So just stick with one language. Google. I am a professional Googler. I think all software engineers are professional Googlers. Ask for help. I think I got the most progress when I started asking for help. I read a lot, so another great thing to do is to continue reading. If I don't understand the way that someone explains it, I'll go read something else and read something else until I understand a topic. Go to meetups like this one. You guys will be able to meet people who are just getting started, other professionals, hear from other people's points of views. After you are done with your online course, and remember you only need to do one, the best thing that you can do is find a project and do it. So on our website we have a list of resources that you can check out. And then we also have, I also put in a list of events and communities in Tokyo that you guys should absolutely reach out to. Women in Tech Japan, of course, Annie's group. AnitaB.org Tokyo just started up here. Code Chrysalis, we have a lot of female-oriented events, but you guys should just come to our events in general. Dev Japan has a women-only coding session that meets once a month. There's also Women Who Code in Tokyo, so you can find them on their meetup. And then there's Lean in Tokyo as well, and I'm sure there's many others. These are just a few suggestions that I have. So, without further ado, oh, I love this GIF. It's women helping women. I will stop talking and bring up our lovely set of panelists. So if I could introduce Yui. Hello. Yui is a product manager at Pivotal. Hello, Yui. Krista Moroder. She is a CTO of NonQuixote. And Kumiko Haraguchi. She's a software engineer at Paidy. Yay!
Oh my gosh.
So I guess we should get started. We'll go through all of you, maybe introduce yourself. This panel is for these three lovely women who have made a transition from a non-technical background into a technical background. So I think before we get started and going into questions and answers, and I'll open it up to our great audience here, I want all of you all to explain what you were doing before, your path into tech, and what you do now. So, Yui, would you like to?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Yui. I'm a product manager. Really happy to be here. This is overwhelming. So, what I was doing before I went into tech was so I should start back at college, because that's when I had zero interest in business or technology, and I had this concept of jobs as something that you like go in and choose from a list of job postings. So I didn't really think about my career. I didn't really realize that there is this whole world of IT and business and like these amazing opportunities so you can go and create for yourself. So I was working, I was a major in music, vocal performance, classical vocal performance, and psychology, studying cognitive psychology. And I was toying with the idea of going into academia and becoming a researcher in music psychology. So I was working in a research job that I really hated because it was boring when the earthquake in Japan happened. And I'm from Fukushima, so I saw that and decided that I should go back to Japan and volunteer for a while and then go back to the US. I lived in the US at the time, so my plan was to go back to the US and get a job, maybe sing somewhere or something, which didn't happen. So when I was volunteering, I'm going to speed up a little. So I was volunteering, ended up finding a job in a nonprofit, helping social entrepreneurs and consulting them. So after I did that work for about a year and ran out of all my money because they were paying me very, very little, I decided to look for another job. And I just happened to know a friend of a friend who was running a music mobile app startup. And I was talking to him, and it seemed like they had just started, and it seemed like the kind of help they needed in translating and just kind of doing things was similar to what I had been doing in the nonprofit, in the very, very small nonprofit, supporting the founder. So I said, hey, I'm looking for a job and I speak fluent English. So I got a job as a customer support and social media marketing person in the mobile app startup. Before I realized that I had spent 3.5 years in that startup, doing everything from customer support to marketing to salesy things to product management to design-ish things. everything except for coding. So I don't code, but I am a person in technology. So, and then I found that I really liked product management. I wanted to pursue it more in a place where it was a fully formed practice. So I moved over. After a little detour, I found a job at Pivotal, where I'm right now teaching clients, a lot of enterprises, but also some startups, define good product ideas that solve people's problems, like Ed had talked earlier, and then bring it to life. So I work really closely with designers and developers from our company as well as our client's company, and we're helping them, we're teaching them how to build good products. So that's my story.
Really quickly, if you could talk about what Pivotal does and also some notable clients that you guys have had.
Sure. So Pivotal takes those clients who have an idea for, let's say, an app, or they want to remake their really, terrible mobile app. So you've all had an experience of using, I don't mean to pick on JR, but Ekinet, the JR reservation system. It's really terrible. We haven't worked on it, but we really like to. So a lot of companies end up making products that either just don't work for people, or even worse, that don't really provide any value to people, so you don't even know about those products. And what we do is to help clients find good product ideas and actually build them. So we have worked with a lot of Japanese enterprises in the Tokyo office, including JR. Yahoo, Raxel is a large startup here. Fujitsu. So I'm only naming companies where it's public, so I can talk about it. A&A, and lots of different companies. And we have partnered with Code Chrysalis for me to talk at people for about 6 hours about lean startup and user-centered design, and why engineers should also care about building good products. Thank you.
Krista?
Hi, I'm Krista. Did not do music, but I actually was a theater major in college. I was studying acting, actually, and long story short, my junior year of college, I got really sick, and I found out I had failing bone marrow, and so that's really bad, so I didn't have an immune system, and at the time I was told either drop out of college or figure something else out, and so after talking with my parents and my doctor, we decided I should be a teacher because teachers had really good health insurance. At least in the state, yeah.
This is America.
Yeah. Where basically career decisions are made through health insurance. So it seemed like a good plan. I had a lot of English credits because of theater. I became an English teacher. There's just one mistake with that, and that's that kids have a lot of germs. So I was teaching out of high school. I kept getting sick, and so to put sort of a wall between myself and my students, I started using technology with my kids. So they turned in their papers online. We put our whole curriculum online. So I kind of was forced to use technology so I wouldn't get sick. Fast forward a few years, and I ended up getting an award for my use of technology in education, became an administrator, kind of helped an entire school district use technology, worked my way up through the ladder in the US, ended up working in policy, and then managing a $40 million program through Verizon putting technology in schools. At that point, I was like, I actually don't know how to code, and I'm telling people that coding is important for kids, so it kind of was just curiosity. I took a sabbatical to learn to code, did not intend to go into it, and at the end of the program, I was like, this seems like fun, and so became a full stack software engineer for a year, and then after that, started a company where we do film production, but also virtual reality. So we just started in August, but the nice thing about coming from a different network is I've been able to bring some of that network with me. So we've worked with Lenovo, Sphero, the International Society for Tech and Education, Code Chrysalis, and then also the U.S. National Park Service in June. So it's been a really weird transition, but yeah, I'm excited to share more. So thank you.
I'm Kumiko. So before I became an engineer, I was actually working at a guest house and helping foreigners to find an apartment. It's called Sakura House, and I was working there. Like when I was a girl, I just loved. I imagine talking to foreigners, and that was like my dream job. I really loved the job. I did that for 3 years. But when I was at the company, we had a great designer / web developer, and he created this like great web app for foreigners to find an apartment from, maybe making a reservation from overseas. And then because the website was great, and then the company grew, they got so many guests from overseas because of it. And I saw the power of the web through the job, so I got interested in like learning how to code, or learning about web in general. So, and also when I was at the company, Sakura House, I was in charge of company brochure. So maintaining and creating the company brochure. So I was using Illustrator and Photoshop in creating it. And I got so into it. And I really loved it. And like even if I was off at work, I went back to the company and just like creating stuff. And I just found the passion in creating something. So I knew that like creating something is something I really should do through my job. So like web and then creating something kind of got together through the job. So I decided to study a little bit about web at university. So I went to university and I took a course, both like, I took a course, little like Java course for 6 months, and a little like just basic network or HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I know JavaScript, but yeah, the basic web standards. And I made sure that I liked it and I wasn't so bad. So, okay, so yeah, after I graduated, I actually joined the system integrator in Japan as a systems engineer. And I was so excited to be able to code, right? But the company, it turned out that the company actually didn't have a project for us to code. They were outsourcing the coding process. So sadly, well, when I was having the job interview with the company, I told them I really want to program, I really want to code, but yeah, I didn't have a chance to code. So I stayed there for about 1.5 years, and I left. So how do I get to code? And then the front end front end job is something that you can start off without experience. So I just researched some companies where I could be a front end engineer without experiences, and I got a job. So that's like my first professional engineering job. And yeah, I did the job for 2 years, and then I met Yan at a JavaScript meetup like last year, and then I was like, so I did the job front end job for 2 years, and I was very curious about how the backend. Sorry, I'm saying like front end and backend, but are you guys familiar with it? Yeah. Okay, sorry. So web, what user can see is front end. So front end developer creates what user can see, and backend is more like database or server. You cannot see, but you need this so that when user do something and some magic happens, and then yeah, just go get some data or update data and send back to the data to the users in browser, and then you see some difference, right? So I was doing this like web front end part. But when I did for 2 years, I was very interested. What's going on over there, right? Okay. So, and then I knew that these guys were going to start school teaching like full stack. Full stack means that you can like learn both front end and back end. So I decided to go. And then, yeah, I took the whole 3 months and liked it. And then, yeah, I kind of helped them for 3 months for the next course. And then, yep, I got a job. After that, then I'm at a new job now. Like it's been, this is the second month from my new job now.
So you just started second month.
Yep.
Second month. What does your company do?
Oh, yes. So my company's name is Paidy, and it's a fintech company. And what they do is that it's an online payment service. And what's special about the company is that you don't need credit card. Like if you make a purchase online, you usually have to have credit card, right? But what Paidy does is that they don't require you. What you need is just phone number and email address, and then you can buy anything. Not anything, but you can buy things online. That's what we do. And then, well, I mainly do front end again. It's been great. The company is very interesting. They have an international engineering group team, which I was exactly looking for. So even though I'm Japanese, I'm like minority in the like engineering group. So like all the conversations are carried in English. So all the, meetings are in English, and some guys speak Chinese, some people speak Japanese, some you hear some French, and it's very interesting working environment. I like it.
Great. I thought it would be really great having these 3 people here. They come from super different backgrounds, as we just heard. Music and what was the other one? Psychology. Music and psychology in college. Theater and English. And then Kumiko was working at a guest house and decided to make the switch. So without giving away too much, I know that another thing that people ask me is, I feel like I'm too old to make this switch. And I know that you guys are on different, made the change into software in different parts of your career and life. So you don't need to give away too much, but if you could talk about that and if there was anything holding you back when you decided to do it. Krista, should we start with you?
Yeah, so I'll give it away. I was 30 when I made the switch. For me, the 2 things holding me back were, number 1, quitting my job and being off health insurance, because that bone marrow failing thing is still a thing. So I had to keep paying health insurance and medical bills. So for me, taking that risk was more than just quitting my job. It was probably the most stressful 3 months of my life, not knowing what would happen afterwards. I know that other people who went through a coding boot camp like I did had children, so when you've got something like that going on, it's more than just yourself. It's the people around you who have to support you. So that was one big fear, and then the second big thing holding me back was I felt like I had spent a decade building this career and getting to a point that I was really proud of, and I felt like I was just throwing it all away and none of it mattered anymore. And I couldn't have been more wrong, because as soon as I started applying for software engineering roles, all of that past experience with management and all my soft skills really, really mattered. And starting my own company afterwards, I'm realizing I probably couldn't have done this quickly without already having that network established. So what I was afraid of actually ended up being the best part of it.
Kumiko? Kumiko, you have an interesting background.
Sorry. But when I got interested in web, like programming, I was still young, like in early 20s when I was at the career house. So my mentality was like, so at that point, so as for English, I kind of self-taught, so I've been like studying by myself, and then, so I knew that like I got to the point where I would be satisfied, like I did enough. And then, so at the time I wanted to learn something new, and so that was like perfect timing. And also, so yeah, just nothing to lose, right? So just nothing. I was afraid. I was just okay. I have something interesting, like new that I'm excited to learn about. So that's how that's kind of the feeling that I had. But so after that, I kind of had to save some money to go to university. So when I got to enter university, I was over 27, and then other students are pretty young, like 18, 19, and I was a little like strange. I seemed to be a little strange on the first day of the university, but just the first day, and just it went okay.
What I always thought was really cool is usually, like, especially for me growing up, after you finish high school, it's like you have to go to college, right? A lot of parents will yell at you and kind of force you to do that. And one of the things I really admired about Kumiko was she was like, no, it's okay. I'm going to learn how to speak English.
Yeah.
So Kumiko actually, after high school, do you want to talk about the rest?
So when I was about to graduate from high school, I wanted to learn English, and also I wanted to go to college. But I couldn't do both. Like, I couldn't get the support from my parents, which is okay. No problem. So I had to choose either. And I knew that going back to school, like university, I can do it later. But for language, the earlier the better, right? So, okay, so I want to go somewhere, like, and then I decided to go to Vancouver.
Canada.
Canada, yes, Canada. I like, so yeah, I did like part-time job, like multiple part-time jobs, like for 2 years to save up money, and then went to Canada. And I stayed there for a year. I just brushed up some like basic English speaking skills and came back, and then went to secure house. So yeah, that might be a little bit different from other paths. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So then after you finished college, you were in your 30s already.
Yeah.
In very early 30s.
Yes. So that was weird because like, so when you start job hunting, you are still university, like you are in the 3rd year, right? So other kids are like 21. I was like, okay, I'm 30. And I was looking for a job as like, new graduate, right? but I knew that I shouldn't take the like normal path, because unless they understand my sense of value, they wouldn't really accept me anyway. So I did some research, like maybe foreign companies will probably don't care that much about the age, more like what I've done and what kind of thinking I have. So I just researched some companies that have more like foreign flavors, and then I took some interviews with them, and I got job offers from all the companies I applied. So yeah, just no limitations. Like even just in Japan, there are companies that they understand you. It doesn't matter your age. Just they more care. They care what you've done or what you want to do. Like what kind of person you are. So don't worry.
And
I was also fairly young when I accidentally fell into IT. So unlike you guys, you folks, my transition was very accidental. I took the startup job, which I was also, very underpaid, and we were like, the founder and I were like lending each other money because the startup ran out of money, and we had literally zero funding for about a year. But I stuck through it because the thing was interesting. I really liked the product, and it was connected to music, which was my passion, which used to be my passion. So it was kind of the fact that it was a music-related company that I took the job, and through the job and through experiencing different parts, different roles that are involved in creating a app, creating a digital product, I was like, ooh, this is really cool. Because I always had lots of different interests. I got bored. I couldn't really stick to one thing and keep doing it over and over, which is why I couldn't make music my career, because I couldn't practice every day. So product management happened to be, digital product management happened to be perfect because there's something new every day. I'm doing something different every single day, like by the hour. And I get to talk to all these different people, users, people in the company, bosses. So it was a really it just happened to be a really exciting opportunity for me, which I found out retroactively, essentially.
Cool. I want to open up questions to the audience. I know some people will probably have questions that they want to ask our panelists. Are there any, do we have any questions from the audience so far? Heard from 3 really different backgrounds, an accidental stumbling into tech from a music and psychology major, a determined transition from an English teacher who started doing more policy type stuff and thought that she needed to learn more about tech, and then also a very determined transition from Kumiko, who was your background. I don't even know how to summarize it. An eclectic background, a varied background going into tech. So, do we have any questions from the audience so far? Otherwise, I have a question. Yeah.
In order to connect this talk with the Edward talk as well, I have one. I would like to know about the transition, because you talk about the transition once you enter into the business, or once you enter into the history. But I wonder about when you started, because for example, I was quite surprised to see in your talk, you say you will land into a job in Singapore. This is something that only few people can do per year. So how did you make your personal brand? How did you get into there? And there, I guess, I might be wrong, but I guess that the fact that you were in Singapore opens your network that you used when you were doing software engineering, whatever. You know, you go listen up, and the same for all the people. I mean, how did you start? Because starting, I guess, is the most difficult one. What was the thing that you was like, okay, I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
So the question was, how did you start? Like, what were, I guess, more details on what exactly? Because I think we've been talking so far at a very high level. So what are some specific things that you started to do? Should we go with either Kumiko or Krista?
Yeah, well, for me, I just decided to go to university and learn about web, and wanted to do like a reality check if I really cut out for programming. So yeah, and then just the school, I think. And did I answer your question? No, you don't.
I mean, there's all the people who can do program, but what was the thing you did that was
the
point? What was your unique point? Because there's a lot of just millions of people in the world who can program in JavaScript or other language. So what was the thing that made you take off?
That made you, what made you, I think, take off or really decide, is it like really decide that this was the correct career choice?
I mean, what was the right thing you did for starting?
For a company to decide to hire her? Is that the question, maybe?
No, I mean, in all this background you explained, I just found that it was, you start here and sell, I mean, I think I lost the transition somehow, because for most people, and even in this room, many of them, they have many things to say, but many of them, they believe they have nothing to say. They don't find, how can I get a job in Singapore in order to, how can I land in America if I study music? I mean, there's something, maybe I got a scholarship, maybe I don't know, maybe I found the right person, maybe I have a friend. So what was the thing that you made? And it's not, we cannot apply this to everyone, but I think it's a good point.
Yeah.
So I guess the transition point for me was actually almost exactly 3 years ago. I was on a speaker panel about women, or why we should inspire young women to code. But I couldn't code, and I was sitting next to 3 people who could. And I was like, wow, you're all really awesome, and I don't belong here. And I was really embarrassed. And I shouldn't have been, because soft skills are really important, and there's a lot of skills that are important, but I didn't really see that at the time. I just felt like I didn't belong there. So I bought coffee, and I bought bagels, and I locked myself in my apartment that weekend, and I went through the entire Code Academy course for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. And I don't think I slept. And Monday, I had a little badge that said, yay, you know JavaScript. And I was like, no, I don't. I can't do anything right now. So that was, I guess, in March or April. And then after Code Academy, I think I did one called Code School. And I just kept hammering away at different online courses and talked to some friends who had transitioned, other people in the industry, and they suggested doing a coding boot camp. So I found out what the application process was. I failed 3 times to get in. It's really hard to get in, and it requires a lot of studying. And so I just kept doing that. Finally did the coding boot camp. After that, there's a technical bar you have to meet to get an interview at a company, and then I was in a company. So I guess that's kind of what happened. A lot of coffee and a lot of bagels. Really bad health for 4 days. Yeah.
I can also attempt to answer it from probably a different perspective. So, as I said, my transition was always accidental, like always accidental. I never planned out my career. It was always, I'm doing something that's just not quite sitting right. I feel like maybe I should start looking for something else. And then I happen to talk to someone who might be a friend of a friend, or just happen to get invited to a lunch where I find out about a different kind of opportunity. And I think it's just the fact that at the time I didn't have a family. I had no attachment to the place that I lived. So it was really easy for me to start exploring that opportunity and just jump in. But after I jumped in, so after I got the job at the startup, there was nothing for me to do because we had no users. We had no overseas users, and I was hired specifically to do overseas stuff, the English stuff. So I just started learning a lot more about all different aspects of the startup world, the tech industry. I never learned to code, and I don't think a career in IT requires you to code. A product management, designer, there's lots and lots of different opportunities for you to be in tech, even if you're not quite interested in coding. And I think just having some sort of a hook that makes you interesting or attractive to a potential employer, and jumping into the opportunity and learning, like, as you go on the job, the things that you need to learn to do the job in an okay way, or stumble your way in, like, across that work, is how I made my actual transition.
Sorry, how did you go to the States? How did you get into the States?
My family moved. My entire family moved there when I was 11. Yeah.
So, how important were female mentors or role models in your journey to becoming a
Massive. Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't have even thought of it as an option if it hadn't been seeing so many female engineers in San Francisco where I was living. Especially one, my friend Karen is like very short, wears very girly dresses, which I've now adopted as well. And I don't know, she's like a bubbly, happy, really fun person. And then she's like, yeah, I'm a software engineer, I just did this. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was like something you do in the basement and don't talk to anyone. And that's the thing that I learned was software engineering is actually really social. As a former English teacher, the crossover is kind of insane. Like when you're fixing or you're writing comments on someone else's code, it's kind of like taking a red pen to an essay. And it's a bunch of people writing an essay together. So you have to talk to each other because someone's going to write it this way and you're going to write it this way and then you're going to argue. And the amount of arguments I've seen between developers over how to name something, and I see people laughing, exceeds anything in my wildest dreams as like an English teacher. I'm like, words matter. No one cared. In like engineering, words matter. They're like, yes, it does. So it's a language. And so having seen a bunch of women go through it and maintain their personalities that did not coincide with what the media tells us or what we think engineering is, I think was really important for me.
I was trying to think of any like, female engineer that I as like mentor, but I just couldn't come up with anyone because when I was in university, I was the only one of the like lab, right? So I was just surrounded by guys, and I was like guy was coding, and I was just like arguing with my professor, and I didn't even think that I was a female, and then that's like just no female engineers around me at all. Like that's a reality here. And even my previous job, when I got to assigned to a new project, I was like the first female engineer in the group. So when on my first day, they were like, "Whoa, female women in our project." I was like a strange like monster or something. And so that was like reality. It's really rare to find like female engineers here. So. But now, so yeah, through my career path, I haven't really met any like female mentor. But I'm aware of the importance of mentor. I never thought about female or male. But so the company I'm working for now, I decided to go to the company because I met a good like senior engineer who I thought that he would be a really good mentor. So, but maybe if you're female, that might be cooler. But yeah, so I think having a mentor is good, but I just haven't had the opportunity to have one at all.
In my accidental fall into tech, it didn't matter. I was the only female in that startup for close to 2 years, I think. But when I got my current job at Pivotal, I think it had a huge impact because the founding team of the Tokyo office had a very strong female leadership presence. The product manager who hired me was a young woman at that, and she was extremely powerful, very, very articulate, very clearly knew what she was doing, clearly was a leader in her practice, and seeing that was frankly really inspiring, and she is still one of my role models, especially when I think about all the stakeholder management and facilitation of meetings that I have to do in usually a room full of older Japanese men. So I think seeing that example was really inspiring for me. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot of, we've casually mentioned soft skills being important. So let's dive into that, shall we? What do you guys think has been some really important soft skills that have helped you be successful in the tech world?
So the question was, what do you think have been some soft skills that have been important in your success? There's a camera right there. Who would like to start? Soft skills.
I can start. Product management is soft skills, period. So especially in my current work where I'm teaching clients how to become a good product team, I'm literally talking 8 hours a day, like literally. There's never really a moment where I'm sitting at my computer and just typing something away. So it's all about communication, empathy, understanding others, facilitation. So as a product manager, even when I do things like user story writing, which is how we communicate requirements to developers, and it can be technical when it comes to writing requirements for backend for servers. We still really need those soft skills to communicate with our developers why we need to do this, why it's important, how this fits in our grander scheme of the product that we're developing, and be able to give feedback to other people when something is not quite working well or when something is working great so that they can do it again. So everything that I do now and everything that I have done is essentially all soft skills.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. Anytime, even as an engineer, you're working on products, and products are built for people. And if you don't have empathy for how someone might use it, it's not going to be a good product. And so I guess maybe from the engineer perspective, there's this constant war between the product person and the designer and the engineer. And sometimes companies don't always talk to each other, at least those departments don't. And so one of the things I found in my role was I kind of felt like the mediator, which was kind of an awesome role. Like if someone said something and the engineer was like, no, we can't just build a button, I was like, this is what he means, or this is what she means. And so being able to translate for people I found was actually a huge skill that I ended up pulling out. And it actually helped me get extra opportunities at my company because I was able to kind of fill that gap.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you explained. So from my nature of job, I talk to designers a lot. And I don't know if it's just in Japanese companies, but lots of designers are a little afraid of talking to engineers. For some, they just think that they have to talk to them logically and they get nervous, right? So I've seen lots of designers like that. I've seen lots of miscommunication. So they don't really talk to each other, or even if they talk, the conversation is not really bright, right? So as you described, I just go there and they describe translate, or just when I do my job, I just go to designers and just talk to them and then just show empathy. They try to create the good environment so that they wouldn't be afraid and they can just talk about whatever comes up in their mind, and then basically just make it easy for us to communicate. So that's kind of soft skills is required, and it makes the development really smooth and efficient, I think.
Cool. Can I get a quick time check? How are we doing on time?
I think it's about time now.
Okay.
You must be really hungry right now.
It's about time. So please give a round of applause for our three awesome. So for those of you guys who opted to partake in the networking, there's pizza in the back. So if you paid for the pizza, please feel free. If you didn't, you're still welcome to hang around. Just no pizza for you. But we would still love to talk to you. I think these three guys might stay around a little longer. I don't know. All of them have work, full-time jobs. But I'll be around. I know a lot of others will all. So please stay, meet each other, make some friends. I hope all of you guys add some